This is Hail Mary territory. 6 seconds left. James Morgan running to the right. He's going to pop it in the end zone here. Launches the football in the air. It's popped up. No shit. No shit. Kenny Yeboah just caught a Hail Mary touchdown. Wow. Oh my God. Good for Yeboah. What's going on, Jets fans? Welcome into NYJ today. It is the Sunday post-game show, and I am just tickled pink to be here with y'all. It is a great evening. We got a trade. The New York Jets were not just sitting on their laurels. Chad, you mentioned it. You didn't want Joe Douglas to not try to make the team better, to try to win. Talk a little bit about that, because you did say that you wanted to see Joe Douglas make a trade. Go ahead and I'll let you start the show off.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we were mentioning in the past couple weeks. When there's a need on this team and when we have the means to get it, that's what I like the most, is that this front office is going to go out and do what they can within their ability to make it happen. So obviously with the loss of Carl Lawson, obviously with the loss of Vinny Curry, and then obviously what we've seen in the past couple of weeks with the run defense, the lack of the pass rush, they recognized a need. Like, hey, we have to go out and get somebody. Now, look, do I think that Shaq Lawson is ultimately the answer? Do I think he's going to come in and have double-digit sacks? No, I'm not saying that. I don't think anybody is realistically saying that. But what I like is what it says about the direction of this franchise. What I like is what it says about the mindset of Joe Douglas. I like what it says. If Robert Saleh had any influence at all on it, which I'd like to think they did because he's a defensive guy, I like what it says about him, right? So that's what I like about it. You know, we've seen this in the draft class too, in both of them. They recognize a need. We had needed offensive line. We needed that. He went out and get it. He made it a priority. That's why it's one of those moves that really makes you think like, hey, look, I really like the direction of the future of this franchise with Joe Douglas.
Yep. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You know, who's to say there isn't another move out there on the horizon? There might be. I don't know. You never know if we're going to have a camp casualty that's unexpected.
Okay, fair enough. And I think I would agree. I think it's a great move. It's low risk. You know, there's high reward. I like the fact that it's a younger guy. It's not somebody who's kissing 30 years old. You know, he just turned 27. And you said it best. He's not going to, like, light the NFL on fire this year. That's definitely not what they traded him for, or traded for him to do. They were looking for somebody that could basically fill the shoes of Vinny Curry. In my mind, that's what they were making the trade for. It wasn't to replace Lawson, more so to replace the loss of Vinny Curry. So it does help. It gives depth. And again, it helps us to get after the passer, which I'm all about. And again, for a 6th-round pick, which you acquired from trading, what was the guy's name?
Willis.
Yeah, Jordan Willis. That's right. So it's a super low risk move. Oh, and he's getting paid $1 million this year. It's like $990,000 or something. The Texans took all the money.
Let me ask. Yeah, the Texans and their front office moves make very little sense. But I guess at some point we do have to talk about those Deshaun to the Dolphins rumors, which is...
We can. I don't want to talk too much about that because I don't really give a shit about the Dolphins.
Let me ask you. So he's not a double-digit sack guy, but he does get pressures. I don't know a ton about his history other than he's been a little bit underperforming based off the expectations of a first-round pick. So without with this news being just hours old, what would you say is a good productive season out of him?
Good question. So his best season was 6.5, which was a couple of years ago, and his rookie year he only had 2, and then every single other season he had 4 sacks. So if you just do like the basic math there, it's about 4 sacks per season, on average, and pretty consistently as well. I'm hoping with Saleh and Ulbrich, getting their hands on him and basically just unleashing him and saying just go attack the quarterback and playing next to Quinnen Williams, Sheldon Rankins, he's got a shot, man. He's got a shot to get, anywhere from 4 to 8 sacks, I would say. 8 sacks would probably be the maximum for him. I don't think he's going to push to 10 ever, just because he's been in the NFL for a while now. So that's how I read it. About 4 to 8 sacks.
and not to say, and I'm not comparing the two, although it's a incredible irony that they're both named Lawson, but Carl Lawson was never, and this has been mentioned ad nauseum, but Carl Lawson was never a big numbers guy either. So we were hoping to see that, and this would have been year 5 for Carl Lawson or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, let's be real, we were hoping for 9, 10 sacks, something like that. But Carl Lawson never had more than a handful per season, right? Mm-hmm. That's what he talked about. So, and he's around the same age. So, in a weird way, they're kind of in the same position, guys who never really made it numbers-wise to the place they wanted to get, but are hoping that with a change of a team, they could step up and and put some more pressures, push some more numbers on the board. So it's an interesting comparison, and I'm glad they made the move.
Yeah, me too. All right, we're gonna get to the chat. It's been a while. It's good to see everybody. I got HexJet in the chat, Stephen Engel, Harry W, one of our newest members to the channel. He is now a member of the NYJ Today channel. So thanks for stopping by, Harry. Dele was in here earlier. Eagle Fang. Let's see. Everaldo. De Jesus. Christopher Merkovich. Welcome back, dude. Good to see you. Let me get to these chats, and then we will move on. So Stephen Engel says, I wonder if you guys knew this, but they wanted him in the 2016 draft. The Bills took him the pick before ours, hence why we took Darren Lee. So I vaguely remember that, and obviously we know Darren Lee did not pan out at all, really, really bad, out of the NFL bad. So, yeah, that's interesting to think about, and how they've got him, quite a while removed from that time period. Eagle Fang says, hello, guys. For New Orleans people and Jeff family and friends, I have over there, pray, but Shaq Lawson, is a nice get for a 6th-rounder. We needed him. Harry W., he says, low risk, high reward moves by Joe Douglas. Yes. This was a no-brainer in terms of ooh, should I not? Should I not? It was absolutely a slam dunk as far as not having to worry about it busting on you. Because if it busts, it's a 6th-round pick. No big deal. We didn't even pay for the guy, basically, so no problem. HexJet throws in there. He says, I hope they sign KJ Wright next. I don't love the idea of having 2 rookie safeties converting to linebacker while Davis is sitting out. Let's talk a little bit about that. What were your thoughts on Jamien Sherwood, my man, during the Eagles preseason game? We don't need to crush the guy, but there were definitely some plays where he slipped up a little bit. Just give me your general ideas and thoughts on Sherwood and the linebackers maybe being too inexperienced and too young for this big, big responsibility they're about to have.
Yeah, he got victimized a couple times. There was one play early on in the game, I think in the first quarter, where he got juked out pretty bad. Yeah, and look, nobody wants to see that on tape. Nobody wants to see that on tape, especially in a position like this where the fans are really, really hoping for a rookie to step up. But I think that we know realistically that we're going to see stuff like that.
Oop, we got a frozen Chad. I will call him back. Not a. Oh Lord, give me 1 second here. Let me try to hang up on him. Let's do that one more time and give this Chad man a call. Sorry about that, folks. Let's see if we can get him real quick. If not, I'll keep going without him until he calls me. We got no answer, so I'm going to hang up on him, and I'm going solo for a little bit. So anyway, back to what he was saying. Jamie Sherwood, the one play that really stuck out to me was the touchdown where, he just had a really poor pursuit angle, and what that means is the receiver or the running back, whoever who had caught it, was on the sideline, and he just was too shallow in his pursuit, and that's the reason why you saw him diving at the feet of that player, because he was just out of position. And if he had been in proper position, he could have hit him really good, actually. Just didn't line him up correctly. Texans already paid him the $7 million without a regular season play for them. Yeah, didn't even play. Exactly. Didn't play a snap, and they paid him $7 million. That's pretty good for Mr. Shaq Lawson, I would say. At least we got 4 plus X this year. We got a guarantee 4. I'm not sure what you mean. You'll have to specify. He's been in a 3-4 his whole career, hasn't he? Yeah, the Bills predominantly have been in a 3-4. I think they may have been a 4-3 when they drafted him. But he's definitely a better scheme fit for the Jets than what he was doing with the Buffalo Bills. That's a fair point to make as well. So if he was a 3-4 outside linebacker, that's a completely different ball game than playing defensive end in this 4-3 scheme that Saleh's going to implement. Let's see. Stephen Engel lighten it up. He says that's the same draft where the Cowboys offered their low first. Whoop. Hey, man. How you doing?
Yeah, shout out to Xfinity Internet.
It's all good, man. We got you back. I'll zoom you back out. We were just talking to the comments, actually, so we are good. Let me get back to what I was saying, though, right before you called me back. So he said that's the same draft where the Cowboys offered their low first and early second for our first rounder, and we said no. Yikes. Yeah, that's the thing about the Jets. I feel like there were so many times where they were in a position to trade back. And to me, that's like one of the most appealing things that you can do in the first round, because you can essentially stockpile draft picks for future use, and it gives you all kinds of leverage, and it's like you can be a better chess player because you know what to do next. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just gives you more opportunities. Sherwood was reading the play as well, but he needs to learn to finish those plays. That's fair. Sneakers to Boots, good to see you in the chat. He says, Lawson is a good edge containment player. Will be important for our interior pass rush. Good trade. Yeah, hopefully he can help Quinnen Williams, and Sheldon Rankins be free. And again, just put a little bit of pressure on the edge. We're not looking for anything outrageously here. Let's see. Yep, hanging Chad.
Well, we got beat around the outside quite a few times in the preseason. So if I can have a nice containment guy on the outside, I'll take it all day.
That's a fair point. Yeah, that's true. The run defense didn't look all that great, in preseason, so maybe this will be helpful. Let's see. He has experience in both schemes. That's kind of what I thought. I knew that he had spent time in a 3-4 at some point, but I thought when he was initially drafted they were in a 4-3. I think that's the better defense for him. No, he has to be an edge in this defense, Stephen Engel. I don't think he would be a stand-up linebacker. He's 267 pounds, I think. Something like that. That's too much weight. You got to be able to move a little bit more. So he'll play edge, I would imagine. That would be crazy if they had him standing up as a linebacker. I don't think he can cover that good. And this defense is all about running and tackling and covering. So, all right, we'll move on. We talked a little bit about Sherwood. Talked a little bit about let's talk about the end of the game, which I know is kind of ridiculous. We're jumping to the end, but I want to talk a little bit about Kenny Yeboah's game and the Hail Mary. Did you watch the whole game from beginning to end? So Yeah, I thought that was pretty remarkable. I mean, it's preseason, so it obviously is not as exciting as it could have been if it were a regular season game. But what were your general thoughts on Kenny Yeboah's game on Friday?
Well, I mean, I think all around the Jet fan community, we had some concerns about Kenny Yeboah going into that game, and he really, I mean, I can't think of a player coming out of that game who's uh, who's skyrocketed more than him coming out. Like, I mean, there was some questions about him being on the cut block or on the bubble, and I don't think that's warranted at this point. But I thought he looked great. And then as far as it being a meaningless thing, I mean, yeah, I guess it is, but at the same time, you know what I like about it? I like the fact that it brings the team together. You know, there's an image from the sideline at the end where I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, where
Mm-hmm.
Zach is looking over and everybody's going nuts. And then did you see the breakdown at the end of the game with
Mm-hmm.
Robert Sal? I mean, that's the kind of stuff. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that's the kind of stuff that's gonna pay off. You know, if and when they have a bad loss, or if and when they're down at halftime, they need to bring it together. I mean, I like it.
Yeah, man, it was cool. They gave Yeboah the game ball,
Yeah.
and so I think he made a really. I mean, obviously, even if he hadn't caught the Hail Mary touchdown, he had a pretty good game prior to that.
Yeah.
Caught a ball on the sidelines. Obviously, scored the touchdown in the seam, going right down the middle of the field. I liked what I saw from him. It was nice to see him with the ball in his hands and kind of running around a little bit. I would like to see more of that. I think that he should be considered to be kept on the active roster. When you consider that our tight ends are not so good already, it kind of makes sense to have somebody that's young that maybe could take a step forward later in the season. I don't I don't love the idea of him being on practice squad because he might get scooped up. I don't know what teams will be looking for a tight end, but it'd stink to lose him because he spent the whole training camp with us. He was there from the beginning,
Right.
and I really liked it. I thought, and like you said, it was a good vibe going on in the locker room. And I think Salah had said himself, like, I know it's just preseason, it doesn't count, but it clearly matters to you guys. Like, it mattered to the young players on the team to get the win, or not even the win. I apologize, to get the tie, and to go, without a loss in the preseason. I think for a young squad, that's pretty exciting stuff. Does not mean anything for the regular season, but again, pretty cool vibe going there.
Are you keeping Yeboah over Herndon if you had to?
So I put out a 53-man roster. I predicted what they might do. And let me tell you, that's a hard exercise. I've never tried that before, and it was a lot of fun actually to like kind of go through and like as you're going up, like as you're getting closer to like 40 players on the roster, like 50 players, those last couple of players, it's hard to decide who to actually keep and what positions to keep. So for anybody that has never tried that before, I know you all don't do like necessarily have a channel, but just do it for your own fun. I thought it was a lot of fun. And long story short, I kept Yeboah, I kept Herndon, and I kept Croft. And I think that's good because again it protects Yeboah. Dele, I think technically we were 2-1-0 because of the tie at the end of the Eagles game. I don't think that we have the win technically. Yeah, that's how I see Yeboah too. Just like a really young kid. He's a little bit raw, I would imagine. Needs some work, needs some like learning in the classroom, but the potential is definitely there. He just needs a little bit. Yep, that's what I thought. 2-0-1. Yep. So, what do you think about that? I know you're really adamant on not keeping Herndon. Is that still your take?
No, I mean, I'm not hating on Herndon. Like, I don't have anything against him. It's just, if you have to choose between, and I know it's Wesco is a little bit of a different animal, but like, if you had to choose between like keeping Herndon versus Yeboah and or Wesco, I think the answer is pretty obvious, and that's because it's been 3 years with Herndon, and I'm wondering like when it's going to turn the corner for him. and I don't have the stats in front of me for like what his preseason looked like, but based off the training camp reports and the practice reports and stuff like that, and then you combine that with the past couple seasons, unfortunately it's a 53-man roster. I wish they could expand it. I mean, as a lot of fans probably do, but this is the hardest time of the year for NFL front offices because they have to make decisions like that. So I would probably put Herndon like third on my tight end depth chart right now, if not fourth, if you're considering Wesco traditional tight end.
Yeah, Wesco's going to be the fullback, and I think what's good about Wesco is he can be the backup fullback, like the emergency the backup tight end as an emergency situation, like if one of those guys did go down. That's why I like Wesco in this team, is because he can do a little bit of both. He got some flack from one of the people online. I don't remember what group it was, but they were saying how bad he played. I think it was U Stadium, actually. They were trashing on Wesco pretty hard, talking about how he's not a great fullback. I thought he looked okay during the preseason. I mean, he's doing this for the first time pretty much. Like, I know he's not been a full-time fullback before. I think he's doing just fine, and I look forward to him, playing this year and learning and potentially growing, man. I mean, I think he has a lot of talent. He just hasn't really been given an opportunity, and I think this is his big opportunity right now in the league as a fullback. Let's get to some comments. So Dele says we signed Croft to make Herndon expendable. I like what I saw from Croft. I think that you could be right. I mean, they may cut Herndon. That's the thing. Like, Chad, you pretty much lean towards that. Like, you want to keep Yeboah over Herndon. So, I think that's a pretty strong statement. There's a lot of fans, though, not me, but there are people out there that want to cut Herndon. I got messages about it in the comments section of that video. People were saying, we need to cut him. Why are you keeping him on the roster? Like, they're with you on that one. So you're definitely...
Let me ask you this. Does Herndon strike you as a guy that's going to be released and go to like the Patriots and just somehow like light it up now? Because that seems like a thing.
So my optimistic side for Herndon is tight end 2. And that's not a bad thing. Like, if that's ultimately what he became, like a 200 to 300 yard at best, tight end 2 in this offense, that's pretty good value for a 4th round pick. I know we haven't gotten good value yet, but if he can produce and be at least somebody that, another player on the defense has to cover, I think that's beneficial. So could he do that elsewhere? Yes, I think he could. I don't know if he'll ever be a tight end 1, though. I think that's probably... those days are probably done, I think. He looked so damn good his rookie year, though, I will say.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Then again, so did Darnold in a lot of spots.
Yeah, I would agree as well with that. Eagle Fang says, my wide receivers would be this. Corey Davis 1, Elijah Moore 2, Keelan Cole 3, Denzel Mims 4, Crowder 5, Vincent Smith 6. I'm high on him as a wide receiver. I will put my hand up and I'll say, oh, I got my sound effects off. Hold on. Gotta fix that one. I'll put my hand up and I'll say, I was a little wrong about Vincent Smith. I was wrong. And again, I've said that before. I will talk about when I'm wrong. I did not think he had even remotely a chance to make the roster. And I am now... with his play that he's been performing quite well in the preseason, getting reps with the first team offense. I would be shocked if he didn't make the team over Berrios. That's actually what I predict right now, is that we'll keep 6, and I think Berrios might be on his way out. And the reasoning behind that, and I've kind of said it a bunch of times, but Berrios, people keep saying like he's a special teams guy. Vincent Smith can play special teams. That's what he's been doing with the Jets. He's been doing special teams and playing wide receiver. Vincent Smith has a little bit more speed, and he can play on the outside and on the inside. So I just think he's a little bit more versatile and a little bit more explosive, does similar things on special teams. What say you about Vincent Smith? We can hit that one.
Yeah, I mean, he's been consistent, which is what you really want in a wide receiver, especially with a rookie quarterback. And, So yeah, I like what I see. He shows up in every game in one way or another. Um, and I mean, he caught a few balls last year in the regular season, if I remember correctly. So it's not like he's always been like a practice player. And then as far
I think it was 2019 when he caught passes. I think 2020 may have been hurt. But go ahead, you're
okay,
good.
no, and I mean, and then as far as the Barrios and special teams argument, that is a tough one because Barrios is a returner. But that being said, I don't know. The problem is that we as fans, unless you're going by practice reports, we only really get to see who's returning balls in game time. So,
Right.
the coaches, the front office, they see who has the ability to return balls and contribute on special teams. But we as fans only see what's on TV for 3 hours. So if they're going with Barrios, every other night and or every other week and he's the kick returner, that's all you're going to see. So Vincent Smith or someone else for that matter may be able to fill that role. We just don't know. I like Barrios, but again, this is as hard of a choice as the tight end choice as far as who do you keep. Because I could see a higher ceiling, I think, with Vincent Smith. And let's be real, like, I hate to say this, but like with the way the injuries are, man, those fifth, sixth string wide receivers, they're going to come in as important.
Yeah, there will be a time when somebody misses at least a game. Like it
Yeah.
might not be like one of those situations where they're out for 2 months, but they might miss a game here and there, and they will play. Like I think that's something that's very fair to say and good point to make. Thanks for the comment, Eagle Fang. Sneakers to boots, he says. I wanted Wilson and a few starters to play Friday, but with getting the short end of the stick the last week and a half with injuries, I think it was the right decision, and I did make a big stink about that on Twitter and on social media platforms. YouTube, obviously, I made a video talking about it. I didn't want to see the starters, and I thought that this was the right move to make. We're not an experienced team, and anybody who's saying like they should have played because they could have used experience, I don't hate that take at all. I understand it, and I respect it. It is not ridiculous to say that. But to me, I felt like the better choice, go into the season remotely healthy. Because if you think about it, aside from Vinny Curry and Carl Lawson, we're doing pretty good actually. And I know that's I know that's a stretch because those are two guys at the same position that are both out for the season, but everybody else seems to be coming back healthy week one.
It's such a if you told us 6 weeks ago, hey guys, you're gonna have like two primary injuries going into the season, we'd be like, okay, I'll sign up for that. But if you said, oh, by the way, one of those guys is going to be Carl Lawson, he's going to be done. That's the problem. It's not that it's just the two. It's who it is that we lost, which has just created this dark cloud, over us for the past couple of weeks. And by the way, Vincent Smith caught a ball last year, so he had one reception last season, 13 yards, but the majority of his work came in 2019, 17 grabs for 225 yards. So,
Yeah.
but he's just always been at least I know he's a consistent practice player. He's always been a consistent preseason player too.
Oh my God, this comment right here. Vervain would love OJ Howard if the Bucks cut him loose. Are there rumors? Is there speculation that they might do such a thing? I can't imagine that they would, Vervain. He was actually playing pretty good last year for the Bucks before he got hurt. He was out for the season. I think he was playing pretty good though, like catching touchdowns, getting some grabs, being in the mix. Like it would be stunning if they cut him, let alone traded him. I think that they're just trying to win another Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, man. They don't care. They want everybody there from last year. They don't really want to look to make a move or trade somebody. They're going to keep everybody that contributed last year and try to hit the Super Bowl one more time, if not again. Let's see. What's up for Vane? Just skipping through here. Have you guys seen Pat McAfee's reaction to Zach Wilson on the show? He was emphatic, saying, "This guy's fucking good." I did see that reaction. Chad, talk a little bit about it.
I did not see it.
Oh.
I've been paying, and I don't really watch too much of McAfee. I mean, nothing against him. It's just usually he's just like not my thing. But um, I don't know. It's like it's this weird experience because like more to the general point, I find it weird to have national pundits all summer singing all of these praises about a Jets quarterback. Like it weird. Like maybe I have like PTSD, but it scares me because I'm like something's going to go wrong. Like I hear these guys just like Stephen A. Smith, for example, just like going on and on about how awesome Zach is, and I love it and I agree. But like on the other side of it, I'm worried because I'm like, if everybody's saying good things, then something's gonna go wrong. Like we just don't have that kind of luck. You know what I mean? Like it's just weird position. Like we didn't experience it with Darnold. You know what I mean? Like Darnold got his praise, particularly from Colin Cowherd, but I don't remember at all the kind of like national attention and recognition at this point in Darnold's career, and it's just I don't know how to feel about it. It worries me.
Yeah, no, I know you're a nervous Nelly. I know that's part of what you are as a Jets fan, so it's all good. Dele agrees that Vincent Smith is ballin'. Yeah, man, he had that dig route. I thought that was his best route and his best catch, a little bit over the middle of the field, which was cool to see. I think that's kind of the thing I can see him doing as the 5th, 6th wide receiver on this team. That's pretty good. He'll be a contributor. I think he could get like 150 yards if he has that role, maybe 100, and just come in spots and make a couple of catches. That's all he has to do this season, just be contributing and potentially take a step forward next year once we lose Cole and Crowder if we don't re-sign them. All right, let's see here. Vincent Smith looks like a keeper, according to Robbie Oak. Good to see you tonight, Robbie Oak. Manny C, he says, I think we're going to keep 7 wide receivers. That, again, is not the first time I've heard that. Play the game. If you're saying keep 7 wide receivers, I have a hard time keeping 7 when I'm building the 53-man roster. It's tricky. It's really, really hard. I only kept 8 offensive linemen and 8 defensive linemen, and some people were like, you didn't keep enough. So just understand the distribution of like players that you keep at certain positions totally impacts other positions. So if we keep 7 wide receivers, there's going to be a position where we're pretty thin. And I think personally that's risky. I wouldn't do it.
Are you so
no offense, Manny, by the way, I just want to say, because you're not the only one that said that either. Go ahead, Chad.
So I think no, my question is, are we going to start to hear about cuts getting leaked out tomorrow, or are they all going to get kind of released at once? Like, are all the names, because we only have until Tuesday close of business, or
yeah, you're exactly right. Tuesday at like 4:00, 4:30, something like that. So I think that starting tomorrow, we're going to start hearing some cuts. And then I think that teams will probably finish it up around lunchtime and call it a day. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would think they wouldn't wait until the last minute. I don't understand why you would do that. You should be able to make your decision in a timely manner. You've been seeing these people a long time in training camp, preseason, OTAs, the spring workouts, like everything. You should know where these guys pretty much fall in the roster.
Right.
One more weekend before we have Jets football. Life is good. Does that even seem possible? Next weekend is the last weekend until March. Right?
When I was a little kid, or when I was maybe 10 or something, I was hanging out at my buddy's house, and sometimes somebody says something that just sticks with you. And his dad was he's like, you guys don't know this, but the older you get, the faster time goes. And dude, that has proven to be so true, so ridiculously. I don't know where the time goes, but nonetheless, I mean, September 12th,
it's coming.
It is.
It's crazy. It feels like I created the channel just a couple of months ago, and it's been 8 months, 9 months. It's insane. Let's see. We got Barrios' work ethic. Oh, he liked Barrios' work ethic, but Vincent Smith has earned a spot on this roster. Hey, man, listen, they might not even keep Vincent Smith. I don't want it to make it sound like it's a no-brainer. I think that's one of the things that people get a little bit upset with me, is they think that I'm just dismissing Berrios, and I'm definitely not. I like Berrios a lot. I think he's also a very good 6 wide receiver, but I just like Vincent Smith more. Like, that's literally how it is. Like, sometimes you just have to make a choice. You can't love both. You have to pick one sometimes, and that's the way it is. He'll land on his feet, though. I think if Berrios were cut, or even Vincent Smith, I think they'd be picked up pretty quickly, I would say. Okay, let's see. Good comment, DSNY. Thanks for the comment. I just want Zach to progress and offense to move the ball and to score some points. That would be okay, man. If we struggle and we lose some games because of our defense, but our offense is producing and like consistent and growing, showing talent, showing promise, like, sign me up. Sign me up. Let's see. Chad, you relish the doom, and I like it, mister. Okay, Daniel Yanez says that O.J. Howard hasn't recovered from his injury. I didn't know that. So if he hasn't recovered from his injury, and it's like not expected to recover from his injury, then we definitely shouldn't be signing him. I don't know the ins and outs of his injury, though, and his recovery. If he could potentially return and he gets cut, the New York Jets absolutely would be foolish not to use that second waiver wire pick on him. Like, pick up a tight end that can produce, who can score big plays, run after the catch. Like, sign me up on that one.
I mean, I don't want to. Do you see Tyler Kroft as a number one? I mean, he's 28 years old. I mean, he's been around. He's a journeyman. Do you see Tyler Kroft as a number one?
No. He's like a tight end 2 with a little bit of upside in the red zone. That's how I read him. Yeah, we don't have a tight end 1 on this roster, in my opinion. Even Yeboah, who I like with promise, the expectation is, like, as an undrafted free agent, I'm just hopeful that he becomes a good tight end 2. Like, if Herndon walks after this year and he can step up and be a tight end 2, bada bing, bada boom, that's a win, man. Harry W. says, Chad, this is a Jets fan mentality. Haha, we can never have anything nice mindset. Chad is spot on with the PTSD of the Jets fans, that black cloud feeling that needs to go away before we can get where we want to go. That is very true.
Yeah, I mean, and like, I don't want to, I'm not saying that the bar is low or anything, but like, the primary goal of this season is Zach's development. Like, first and foremost, I want him to stay healthy, because I'm worried about that shaky O-line. But I want him to develop. And if we're sitting here, in January and we have a healthy, growing, developing Zach Wilson, that's about as good as we're gonna ask for, right? I mean, I would love to see it.
Yeah, man. No, I'm with you. Mike Gee says, sup, fellas? Just got in. Good to see you, my man. I'm calling in, bro. Oh, Dele, that was you? Okay, yeah, I have headphones, and we will take calls probably at the end of the show, so if you want to call in a little bit, I'll definitely take your phone call near the end. Tomorrow will be a big day, a big trade day. Are you talking about across the NFL? I would assume that's what you're talking about. Potentially. A couple of trades have already transpired in the NFL. The Jets obviously are one of them. Mike Gee, he says that I think Zuniga is done with Lawson in the fold. I did make a video, and I did kind of hint that could be a problem for him, but I don't know, man. Again, it just depends. If they want to keep more than like 8 defensive linemen, yeah, he could be in trouble. If they want to keep more than like 4 defensive ends, yeah, he could be in trouble. Rusty Spooner, what's up, dude? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. When we're cutting quality receivers and players in general, it's a good thing. Yes. That's the other thing. Like, the fact that we're even having a discussion, I think, is good because it means that there's like a decision that needs to be made. It's not just like clear cut. I read your comment wrong. I apologize. I'm sorry. I don't even know what comment. We can't worry about players we release and doing well elsewhere. The Jets have a great opportunity to pick up good players. Yeah, I think that's the thing. Joe Douglas is going to be a busy dude, starting Tuesday at 4:30. He's going to have to make his mind up on who he wants to put a claim in on for the waiver wire. What position? So, let's talk a little bit about that. What position would you like the most with that first waiver claim? What would you like to address the most? If you had to pick one position to address, what would it be? And we don't know the player. We don't know any of that. But just maybe like a blind, if you had to put your finger on it, what position would you like to improve before the season?
I'm tempted to say guard, and and either left guard or right guard. And as much as we're talking about, and I know people are going to say corner, they're going to say nickel corner, or they're going to say tight end or whatever. I totally get that, and that would be number one. But I have to see Wilson protected. I did go back and I watched Dan Feeney, and look, I haven't seen Elijah Vera Tucker take a snap. I mean, I know we talked about this a few days ago, but I'm assuming that he's going to start and he's going to be good. But with Dan Feeney and Greg Van Roden or whoever's backing up at right guard, I don't want to put Zach in any precarious positions. So if there's a guard that shakes loose, left side, right side, swing person, whatever, use that position to go up and grab him if you can.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it could be somebody that's developmental and not even necessarily play, but just somebody that has potential. That's a good idea. I have to agree with a couple of people. For once, I'm going to say defense, actually. Something on the defensive side would be really nice. I'm going to lean towards linebacker. Harry W. says cornerback. Ron Loizo, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. He's saying linebacker. I think that's the one I would like the most. I'm worried about Jamie Sherwood and Hamza Nasruddin not playing. That doesn't concern me. I'm worried about them being out there too much. And again, if you just look at the linebacker core, we've got Mosley in the middle. That's great. We've got Cashman, Nasruddin, Sherwood, Dawkins, and then I think it's Ilo or something like that. Or what's the other dude's name? I don't have it off the top of my head, but somebody that we don't know very well. I'll say that much. Eifler, that's right. So I'm going linebacker. If we can address that with a veteran or just, again, somebody that's developmental, that has a little bit of experience, a little bit of upside, I'm all for improving the linebacker group right now because I'm nervous about that position group. I think I'm thinking that's a tie between edge and linebacker, outside linebacker specifically.
Right, and I mean the upside going into the year is that all of these young guys at linebacker are going to get a ton of valuable experience this season. The downside is you're going to see stuff like we saw on Friday night, guys getting juked out of their shoes, missing tackles, blowing assignments, and things like that. It's going to come with the nature of playing linebacker, especially when you're starting in the NFL and you're converting from a safety to a linebacker in your first NFL season.
Yep. Stephen Engel basically threw out every positional need that we have. He said tight end, linebacker, O-line, corner, edge, just a couple, just to name a few. It sucks that Zuniga might get cut, especially since he was a third-round pick. Practice squad is dangerous too because we would probably lose him. I think that's what he's saying. I think a team would take a swing on him. It'd be one of those things where a team would just bring him in and just say hey, fresh start. We saw your potential in college. We liked you when you came out. Let's just see what you can do here now. Give him a completely fresh start. I could definitely see that happening, Daniel. No doubt. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Jets may trade Pirine if he's healthy. That's the other thing that's interesting, man. Pirine is not healthy as far as I know right now. He didn't play in the last game. But I will say this. Robert Saleh did have a press conference today, and he did say he expects Pirine and Mims to be ready to go for week 1. Let's talk about running backs because That was another big thing that popped off the screen at me was I thought there was a noticeable difference. And again, not talking about the production. I had talked a lot about it on Twitter today. I'm not talking about the production. The yards were great. But Josh Adams, to me, seems to have a more explosive first step, better burst and acceleration than LaMichael Pirine. In addition to that, he's also big. Like he's plenty big to be a power back in this offense, but he's got good speed as well, like good straight line speed. He's like a really, really poor man's Derrick Henry. Poverty Derrick Henry, okay? I'm not saying he is actually Derrick Henry, but he's kind of got those kinds of skills. I like that more than what LaMichael Pirine offers. I think that the Jets are going to keep Pirine. But if it were me, I would vie for keeping Adams over Pirine. I want to hear from the chat because that was a big one today. I was talking all day about that one. Chad, I do want to hear what you think about that. Pirine over Adams or Adams over Pirine. What are you feeling?
I'm with you. I believe that they're going to cut Adams, keep Pirine, but the recent injury history doesn't help that much. I think, look, Ty Johnson's safe, Carter is safe. I don't know.
Coleman's safe too, I think.
That's not as solid as it was a month ago. Okay,
you think so? Really?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. He played in that Packers game early. Like I think they view him as the 1B to maybe a Ty Johnson. And again, I think we're going to see during the season, I think we're going to see 3 to 4 running backs in this offense interchange. I really believe that. So whoever makes the roster at running back will have a role. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like I really think Tevin Coleman could be a really good third down back. Even if he's not carrying the ball a ton of times, maybe he gets like 4 to 5 carries a game. I want to see him catching the ball. He's got a really good skill set receiving the football. He's lined up at wide receiver at certain times with the Atlanta Falcons. And if you think about it, man, we don't have anybody like that in the backfield that can do that kind of stuff. I mean, Michael Carter maybe a little bit, but I think he probably still needs to learn. What do you think about that? Like of having somebody that has a little bit more versatility in the backfield? Because you and Mike seem to be holding hands on this one now. You're not in big favor of keeping Tevin Coleman?
Well, no. I mean, it comes down to the limitations of the roster size. I mean, the argument is that we kind of know what we have in Tevin Coleman, but if you want to give young guys a chance and you want to go that route, then you're gonna keep both Josh Adams and LaMichael Pirine. Now you have a four running backs on your active roster, and I
think they're going to keep 4.
Well, I mean, then the question really comes like, are you going to cut Josh Adams? I guess for them the question is Josh Adams or LaMichael Pirine, who's getting released with an outside chance of it being Tevin Coleman. I guess you're right. It's not going to be Coleman. Like it's
I don't think so.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be Josh Adams just because. I don't know. He's always just like the guy that's kind of left out. You know, yeah. They give him like 1 or 2 touches a game or whatever. But I don't know. It's probably going to be Josh Adams. We'll probably find out.
Yeah, I think again I lean towards that for sure. I think that's what they're going to do. It just kind of breaks my heart though because I really don't see as much upside in Pirine as I do in Adams. I really liked what I saw with him being able to get to the outside. I was impressed.
Either way, though, by like week 10 or 12, I want to be seeing a lot more Michael Carter. Love what I'm seeing out of this guy. Love his running style.
He's slippery. Very slippery runner. Mike Gee says, what do you think of the Jets getting KJ Wright? We're thin at linebacker. I don't trust Sherwood yet. Yeah, I think I made myself very clear. I think that's probably the biggest need now after we traded for Shaq Lawson. I think that our linebacking core is very, very thin. We need another body there. I think that they would be almost psychopathic. Like it would be like some psychopath behavior to go into the season with what they have right now at linebacker. Like I really feel like they should make a move for that position. Jalen Smith from the Cowboys, I believe, if that's who you're referring to. They did just draft another first-round linebacker. What's the situation? Is he on the block? Because I read a little thing about how like he might be. I'm down for that. Like if he becomes available, he could fit into this scheme real nice. And again, maybe a fresh start would be good for him. What position does Cashman play? I believe he plays weak side, outside linebacker, but I can't be sure of that. I'm not an expert in X's and O's, but I think that's what he does. Weak side, outside linebacker. Christopher kind of agrees with me. I don't think he sucks. I just think he's kind of limited in what he's like really, really good at. I think he's one of those guys that can do everything pretty good, but isn't like superb at any one thing either. Let's see. Yeah, Dele, I hear you. Having the backfield, having the speed at quarterback. Don't sleep on Zach Wilson's speed. ZW, he's got some speed to him. I think the thing that I read was that he could potentially run a 4.5. I don't know if it'd be a sub 4.5, but it would be a 4.5, I think.
We haven't seen it this preseason because thank God we haven't had to see it, and I wouldn't have wanted to see it, especially in the preseason. But I think we'll be a little bit surprised when he breaks off a decent run or two.
Yep, I think he will. He'll pop. And again, he's not going to ever be as good at running as Justin Fields, so don't get that twisted. He will not be that. But
and he better slide.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, that will make me lose my shit. If he's taking hits, no siree.
None of that shit. Remember that highlight? I forget who were they playing. Where
I know.
Like, you know what I mean? He jumps up. Don't do it.
Yeah, he had his. Yeah, do not. I'm not in favor of that at all. Is JD going to stick with his drafted guys? Because Adams sure seems better than P. Ryan. That's the thing, man. I think that he will. I think he's going to stick with P. Ryan. I really do. I won't hate it. I won't hate that decision because P. Ryan is like the third or fourth running back on this team. I think Ty Johnson and Michael Carter will overtake him if they haven't already. So not too worried about it. It would just be disappointing to not have a chance with Adams. Daniel Yanez, that might be true, but if we're running it and we need a power back, and the defense is kind of expecting a run, and when we know that they're expecting it, I want somebody in there that can pound the rock and potentially bust it outside. Like that's what he offers. But I hear what you're saying, though. Not being able to catch does limit him a little bit. Gitmo Bob says, let's watch JD make a trade and recoup his 6th. Wouldn't that be so funny if he trades Crowder for like a linebacker or something and he gets another pick back? Like that would just be so Joe Douglas.
If anybody could do it, it'd be him.
Yeah, I don't want a Crowder trade, by the way. Just a heads up on that one. AK, he says, just based on results and observations, Adams is clearly better than P. Ryan. P. Ryan's vision is suspect, and he does not have burst. That's what I'm getting at. And somebody was going back and forth with me today, and they were like, well, P. Ryan played with Gase. And I was like, well, so did Josh Adams, and he averaged more yards per carry in his attempts, And then he's like, oh, well, like, if you look at the preseason stats, like, you can't really be, like, too hard on him there either. And I was like, well, this isn't about stats. Just watch him. Watch him play. You see a difference in the burst and acceleration that Josh Adams has. All right, we'll let Josh Adams go now. We'll move on to the chat, see if we can get some more topics drummed up here. Let's see. Yeah, pretty sure on Madden they duplicated Derrick Henry and just lowered his stats. Exactly, that's the thing. Like he's not Derrick Henry, but he is built similarly and they have a similar skill set. Let's see. John Sheenan, he's saying, let's keep Josh Adams. He never gets a fair shake. Mike Gee is agreeing. Let's cut P. Ryan. So Alex agrees with you, Chad, that, Coleman is just old, not that good. I don't think he's a world beater. Don't get me wrong. I just really think he offers something that other players in the backfield do not. So for that reason, I like him a little more than most people. Let's see. Harry W. says, did you guys hear Zach's press conference today? Describe his process for getting ready for a game each week. I did not. I haven't had an opportunity to do that. I would like to hear that. I would like to hear what his routine is. Hopefully that's what he was talking about. That would be very cool to hear what his preparation is like. I imagine that he's in a dark room watching film, maybe munching on like a healthy snack. Drinking a water or a Gatorade or something. I could imagine him doing that. Let's see. Cowboys drafted Parsons and they drafted Jabril Cox out of LSU. That is true. Man, if we could trade for Jalen Smith and get him on the cheap, I'm down, boys. I am down. Alex is saying no upside for Coleman. Listen, man, you're not alone. Mike, who comes on the channel, he doesn't really like the Coleman, addition to the team. What team does that guy from the Cowboys play for? The defensive end that would make. I think who you're talking about is DeMarcus Lawrence. And I've also heard talk about DeMarcus Lawrence, and I think it's financial. What about DeMarcus Lawrence? You know anything about him, Chad?
I think he's been around too long. I see that as a little bit too similar to the Shaq Lawson trade. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that one, to be honest. I'd rather get a guy with a little bit less mileage on him and a little bit more upside.
Okay, so Harry W. is confirming that is in fact what the press conference was. So I'll promise you right now, Harry, I am gonna watch that press conference, and then after the press conference, after I watch it, I'm gonna message you in our group chat about that, because I want to hear what you have to say. Let's see. Ravens lost a running back too. Yes. J.K. Dobbins. Very brutal. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we could go on a side tangent here, but like, I tell you, man, do you make a point? Like, do you get to a point where you say no starters in the preseason whatsoever? Because between the injuries this preseason, man, it's just been devastating. I mean, then again, Lawson got hurt in a freaking practice, so, but the point still stands. Like, at what point is it like, do you sacrifice some early on sloppiness for health? Because, it's bigger, faster, stronger every year, and you just see these guys go down for just BS reasons, and it sucks. So, like, do you reach a point where you just say no starters at all in the preseason, period?
I don't think it'll ever happen. The one trend that I've noticed is that coaches are now like not playing. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them are just like holding their quarterbacks out. Like Darnold got one game. He played the second game and threw 2 passes. Yeah. And then the last game he just played a lot. And that was it. That was all he got, was one game in the preseason. I could see it being like that. Like that could be the trend maybe in the NFL, is just play your guys one time and just like let it be done. I do believe that practice is where most of the learning and where most of the developing is taking place. I know that you can't recreate that exact same scenario of playing a preseason game in practice, but I mean, that's what scrimmages are for. Like, you know what I mean?
Let me ask you this. Let's say Zach gets through this year and he has the kind of season we all hope he's going to have and stuff like this, and we're sitting there in August of next year. Do you want Zach taking any snaps, period?
I missed the first part.
Next year, if Zach plays well and has a great season, do you see any benefit of him?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Play about the same amount that Darnold got. Give him a game and then just be done. I think it's good. Like, they need to have people coming to hit them, because that's the other thing. In practice, they don't hit the quarterback.
Right.
And so knowing that in practice, it's kind of like, I can hold the ball a little longer kind of situation, but to really have somebody coming at you to really knock your lights out, you can't recreate that in practice. So that part I think is important. So I would say 1 game, at the minimum. But I think a lot of people would probably say, no, I want him playing more games, get him to learn, all of that stuff. Dobbins looked pissed off when they were taking him. I can only imagine the feeling. I would think, personally, I would be frustrated. Because think about how hard these guys work to get to his point. He was a second-round draft pick last year out of Ohio State. He only played a little bit, but when he played, J.K. Dobbins looked like he was on the big-time upswing. Like, he was one of those guys that people wanted in fantasy football. I was one of them. I was really favoring the idea of drafting him this year. I can only imagine how frustrating that is because they work their asses off to get to that point. And then not to mention the potential loss in money, like in future contracts, like all of that stuff happening in like a couple of minutes. I would be pretty pissed off, I would think.
I was on the phone with my buddy's big Ravens fan. He was just like
devastated.
He was sick to his stomach. Like he had the same reaction that I did with Carl Lawson, where like I was literally nauseously sick. Like I couldn't sleep. I was just unbelievably disgusted. It's awful. It's an awful feeling, man. And again, like, that's why those guys that's why they sign those that's why they sign those agents, so they can get what they can while they can, because Bart Scott said it famously once. It's like any play could be their last, and it's a harsh reality. It just sucks, but that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. We got about 53 people in here right now. I would greatly appreciate it if you guys would just go ahead and hit that like button for me, give us support to the channel. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. We are doing a giveaway, and it's, let's see if I can point to it. There we go. That helmet, I am giving that helmet away on September 1st, which is our Wednesday show. So anybody that's subscribed to the channel is in the running. This is like a big to-do. We've been talking about this for months now. You guys got us to 1,000 subscribers, so that's the payout, man. I'm happy to give it to somebody, and I will be mailing that one out hopefully on Wednesday. Like that night, I'm gonna try to get it all packaged up. I'll ship it out on Thursday morning, and it'll be yours. So anyway.
So wait a minute. How are you gonna pick the winner? Or is it like a random drawing?
Yeah. So I print out the whole list of all of the subscribers to the channel, and then I will handwrite, which is a pain in the ass, but I will handwrite very quickly a number next to each person's name, and then I will do a random number generator and just go down the list and find the number. If it's 37, I just jump to it, and then that's the person.
I feel like we could use an Excel formula for that or something.
Well, listen, if you want to help me with that, that would be great. I am not an Excel man. I don't know how to use it, but you're probably right. That's probably the much easier way to do it. Maybe I'll look into that. There are 1,000+ subscribers, so maybe I don't want to do that for every single person. The Giants didn't play Daniel Jones this preseason, and he looked like crap to me. Did he play today or yesterday? I would love to know. I did see a tweet where someone was just like, Daniel Jones, OMG. Like, I didn't get to watch the game, though. All right. John will part with the Chrebet helmet, but no one touches his green Jets lamp. I like all my goodies behind me. These are like some of these things I've had for a really long time. Like that right there, that one on the door. That's probably like legitimately like close to 20 years old. Like it's probably like 15 years old, something ridiculous like that. And liberal Irishman, it was Wayne Chrebet. He is in the Jets Ring of Honor, one of the great undrafted free agents in, I will throw it out there, like one of the best in Jets history for sure, without a doubt. Victor Green's in that conversation as well. So yeah. Yeah, he did. He tossed a touchdown. Daniel Jones, his O-line is bad. Yeah, the Giants just have not been able to sort through that. And Barkley being out last year hurt him. I'm not as bullish on Daniel Jones as some people. Some people really think he's just terrible. To me, I think he's had not a rough go of it, but like kind of like a Darnold. Like, he really just hasn't had his guys. Like, the offensive line kind of stinks. But that doesn't excuse him. He's got to hold on to the football better, got to take better care of the football. Too many turnovers from him.
The expectations, like it's the expectations for a young quarterback in today's NFL are just so they're absurd. They're absurd.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are expected to come in immediately and not just contribute, but like be a star player. Like we were talking last week, like who's going to throw for 4,000. You're expected to break the rookie quarterback record. Every rookie every year is expected to have a new record. It's just I don't know when we got to this point where these expectations just became so out of hand, but they really are. I mean, if you drafted a guy and had him sit for like 4 or 5 years the way they used to, I think the fans wouldn't go for it.
I think that's why a lot of teams do it. Like, the fans would be ravenous, and that's why you see a lot of players that are young play, because the NFL fans, that's what they want to see. They want to see these guys that were drafted high, that have a lot of potential. They want them out there. They want that, and that's the other thing. The NFL wants the fans to buy their jerseys. Like, I know that sounds ridiculous, but there is a lot of money to be made in jersey sales. So, what's going on, Frankie?
Oh, Frankie, if I'm thinking of the right guy, says that The Wire is the greatest show in television history. And I agree. I think it's like that in Game of Thrones. It's like it's obviously it's two totally separate things. It's very, very close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's very adamant about that. And Frankie says, indeed. Yeah, we watched it actually recently. I know it's an older show now, but my wife and I, we just watched the entire series. I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent here, but I didn't like what they did with Kima. I thought they really butchered her character at the end. I was really interested in her for like the first 2 to 3 seasons, and then they just did some weird stuff with her. Yes, Stringer Bell, dude. Easily. I think Stringer Bell and the guy always going around, Indeed. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But anyway, great show. Really, really good show. I loved... Yes, Omar. That's right. And Michelle just said it in the chat.
Tell
him
Omar is coming.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, man. Omar was a beast. Really, really good show. I enjoyed it. I'm not gonna say I didn't love it. I did. I really enjoyed the show. It's not in the Breaking Bad category for me, but it's still really, really good. Anyway. We are, we're caught up on the chat here, so let's think of some other topics. How about Matt Amendola? We don't have to talk about Braden Mann. We've talked a lot about him. What are you thinking about him making the team? And thoughts on if Jose Borregales, we talked about him already, but what if he's cut? Do you bail ship? Do you abandon Matt Amendola for a different kicker? What's your thoughts on this? I would like to know what you think.
No. Who's the guy that we let go a couple years ago, and he had a decent season for us, but then we let him go, and I'm blanking on his name right now.
It's Jason Myers.
Yeah, Jason Myers. No, I don't want to pull, and I'm not saying that Matt Amendola is Jason Myers at this point, but no, I like what I see out of Amendola. Obviously, we haven't seen enough reps yet, but no, I'm not gonna. I mean, maybe they bring a guy in to look at him. I was watching the Ravens game last night, and I was texting, my buddy, right as before the J.K. Dobbins injury. I'm like, why are the Ravens having some random kicker out there that's not Justin Tucker? And it's just they just do it. So maybe they bring in somebody just to have a look at him, just because you never know, especially with this team. But no, I'm riding the hot hand or the hot leg in this case, and I'm rolling with Amendola. He's my guy until proven otherwise.
Mm-hmm. I sent out a tweet responding to somebody about he had said that they had found their kicker, Amendola. They had found their kicker. I am not prepared to say we have found our kicker. I think that is very, very presumptuous and very, very premature. I like Matt Amendola. I like what I've seen from him. in the preseason, and apparently he's doing just fine in training camp. Let's see him do it during the regular season. Let's see him do it for, a couple of weeks in a row. Let's see if he can have a pretty good month in September kicking the football. If he can do that, absolutely, we got our kicker. If that's the case, if he's doing, a good enough job making most of his kicks, then that's great. I'll be very, very excited.
And are you still getting the custom Braden Mann jersey?
No.
Wouldn't it be? I know they would never do this, but like, wouldn't you love to see Braden Mann line up at outside linebacker?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they would never do that, but he can tackle though. That's definitely a thing.
Yeah, we've seen that.
Yeah. So, end of story on the kicker. I do think Matt Amendola is going to make the team. He's going to be the kicker week 1. I think he's done a really good job being consistent with extra points, with, the field goals, obviously. The one thing I wanted to make mention of, though, was a villain to Jets lore, Kyrie Vedvik. Does the name ring the bell? So he was the backup kicker for the Ravens in the preseason, and in one game, he had hit 4 field goals, one from 56 yards or 55 yards, and made 2 extra points. So I am not trying to be pessimistic. I just want to remind people, bad kickers can also have good days. It's kind of like a golfer. Like even an average golfer can go out there and hit a couple of really nice shots. So I kind of just want to remind people, he's got to do it over a longer period of time before we can celebrate that we've landed our kicker. That's just my take on it. So Vedvik also, turned out to be a total egg of a kicker. So I just want to make sure we all understand he's still got more to prove. If you can improve, I don't know what you're saying there. Sorry.
If you can find an improvement, then you'll say goodbye to him.
Yes, that is exactly what he's saying. Yep. So yeah, if there's a better veteran out there with a little bit more consistency, a little bit more of a resume, yeah, sure, I'll sign up for a vet, but probably not going to happen. I think the best option would be Borregales, and I don't think that they will make a move. What could wind up happening is they have Amendola in there, and if he slips up a little bit real early, they could quickly move and maybe get Borregales. Like, he might not get picked up right away.
That's what they did with Vedvik. Vedvik had that atrocious game.
Yes.
Like in week 1 or week 2.
Yeah.
And he was gone. Like, he was gone. He was gone by the time the clock hit 0. He was done.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm not going to say anything about Sam Ficken, but he made a 58-yard field goal for the Tennessee Titans this preseason. I was not in favor of, keeping Ficken, but he was he was not great last year. I'm not going to say he was great, but he was trending up over the last couple of years. Not a drastic improvement, but he had been on the up and up over the last 2 or 3 years. I think he can have a pretty decent career in Tennessee. It's a stupid word because it's so cliche, but he just needs to be consistent. If he can hit his field goals and his extra points with pretty good consistency, he'll probably stick around. Diego Alvarez, no, we can't keep 2 kickers. Unfortunately, this is not fantasy football. We gotta get a kicker, and we gotta stick with that kicker. And if it doesn't work out, we'll pivot. We'll pick up and find somebody on the waivers or, free agency, whatever it may be. Let's see. Captain Morgan. Good to see you. All right, cool. So, what are we offended by? I'm confused. Did I upset you, darling? What other things did you think about from the Eagles-Jets game? We could probably wrap it up here pretty soon as far as talking about the game, because there wasn't too much more. We didn't see the starters at all.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that it kind of left me thinking was, is there an argument for keeping Josh Johnson because he had such a good performance? But then again, I have to go back to thinking about the young guys and having them developed. And do you really want to keep a Josh Johnson over over Mike White or Morgan. And unfortunately, I got to think the answer is no. And sometimes it just comes down to like their age and their development. Like, yeah, Josh Johnson, I mean, and good on him. I mean, this is his 15th team or something like that. Um, I mean, so good on him. He had a hell of a game, and it was great. But I don't know that I can keep him. Maybe keep him on the practice squad if possible. But I don't know that I could keep him in favor of or in lieu of Mike White or James Morgan.
Yeah, I think that's a very tough decision. I had said that they should keep Mike White. I thought he looked okay. Some people really didn't like what they saw. I thought he was pretty decent. I thought he made quick decisions in the second game. Was it the Packers? No, not the Packers. I'm sorry, the first game versus the Giants. I thought he looked pretty sharp in that game, using play action. Seemed to get the ball out pretty quickly. Some people were saying he didn't handle the pressure all that great. No quarterback's going to handle pressure real great. It's hard to play with people in your face. But I will say this. I did keep Mike White in my 53-man roster little bonanza that I did. I would not be upset at all if they decide to keep Josh Johnson. He certainly looked comfortable, looked like he could play as the backup in this offense. He knows the offense. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if he was the backup instead of Mike White. I just think they might want to go with the young kid because then they can have a cheap backup moving forward.
That's what it's all about. I mean, Josh Johnson, like as good as he was yesterday.
35. He's 35.
Right, that's the thing. Like, Josh Johnson isn't going to be a viable backup next year or the year after that. And that's what we're really. I mean, like, we forget, like, the backup quarterback position is hugely critical. So if we can develop a homegrown talent there, man, I'll take that over anything else.
Mm-hmm. Jeremy had a pretty good comment. He says, I have a feeling having the right kicker is going to be much more critical in 2022 and beyond. And I get what you're saying. You're saying that this team should be set up for a playoff push 2022. We're all kind of like dancing around and saying like, oh, we could possibly flirt with the playoffs. Some of us are saying no shot, but next year, I think we all agree like 2022, if we are not an 8, 9, 10 win team, utter failure. And maybe even some people will say an 8-win team would be a failure. So I think that he's got a good point. We need to figure this kicker shit out now so that we don't have a kicker problem next season. And that's a great thing I hadn't even thought about. So great insight, Jeremy. Great comment. Thanks for sharing it.
I'm just grateful that like we're even having that discussion. And I don't know why. Like the other day I was sitting there thinking about like, going into the season, I know, we're going to have our tough times in the season, but at least we're not talking about like billboards outside the stadium and protests and flying planes that say sell the team and all this kind of stuff. Like, at least for the time being, those days are behind us, man. And we're just looking to the future. And I really believe that there's better times ahead for this team.
Yep. That was a very kind message. Thank you very much, Jeremy, for sharing that. It's always nice to read stuff like that. I try to make people's days too, man. That's like kind of why I love being a teacher, and I'm sure it's the same for you as an administrator in education. Like, there's nothing better than just to be nice to people. Like, I feel like there's not enough of that in the world, and that's kind of why I got into teaching, man. I wanted to help kids to not be jerks. Like, just be a good person and work hard. Like, that's the life, man. Like, that's what everybody should attain to be in their life, is just be good to other people and work hard. So appreciate the comment. It means a lot. Try not to get choked up over here. So anyways, we got Frankie. He says, why is it that there are no kickers and punters in the NFL? We could save a roster spot for a real player if one guy could do both of those jobs. I don't want to go back to Kyrie Vedvik, and I'm going to let you talk about it, Chad, but it's interesting. I wonder the same thing. Why have they not just turned the kicking game into a one-man job? In the same game that Kyrie Vedvik had the 4 field goals and the 2 extra points in the preseason game, he also had 2 like really good punts. And I'm not saying that it can't be specialized that you have a punter and a kicker, but it's very interesting that at this point, the NFL's history, over 100 years, we haven't really seen a lot of that. What do you think about that?
It's hard to believe that it hasn't been at least approached
Attempted.
yet. Like
Yeah.
right. Like you would think like somebody would try it at some point for the benefit of keeping that extra roster spot. But I guess it just comes down to those positions are so highly specialized. And it's frustrating when you see them like a combined, 8 times a game or whatever. But I would like to see it. I mean, I'd like to see us give it a shot, but I don't know. Maybe one day we'll see that. It'd be pretty cool.
Think about if Braden Mann just like didn't tell the Jets and just spent an entire offseason working on both, like literally putting in double the work and trying to become like a legitimate kicker, and just went to the coaching staff and was like, hey, watch me do this and like kick in practice. That would be pretty badass.
Then I would say though, and again, everybody's gonna say, "Oh, you're a fearful, miserable Jets fan." You're not wrong, but then if something happens to that guy, now you're screwed because now you're out 2 positions.
That there might be the answer. That's a great insight. If you have just one dude, you would then have to replace 2 positions. I don't know. It's super interesting. I like talking about it. I've had that conversation before. It's very interesting to think about. Let's see. Yeah, I think that they should put James Morgan. I know a lot of people hate him and they say, like, get rid of him, cut him. I don't see why we wouldn't consider putting him on the practice squad this year. Give him another year. And then maybe by year 3, because after this year, it'll be year 3 for him. Maybe he's ready to be the backup. Like, maybe he could be better than Mike White. Like, I don't know. I find it interesting that nobody wants to have him on the practice squad. What do you think about James Morgan sliding to the practice squad, or versus what most people want to do is just cut him?
I mean, it's kind of scary when you go into it. So if you did cut him, you'd be going in the season with what, two active quarterbacks on the roster. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you could find a way to stash him on the practice squad, I guess, because I mean, look, God forbid if Zach goes down for any length of time, the season's over anyway. So maybe I don't necessarily see the hate though for James Morgan. I mean, I haven't seen him really do anything spectacular, but I don't think he's trash.
Oh crap! Here we go with this bullshit chat thing. Sorry guys. No, I read on Twitter a lot. It's like what I do. I don't watch videos as much as I used to. I usually just read what fans are talking about because then I can kind of relate it to the show. And it's pretty common talk right now that like people want him gone. They don't want him on the team. So I find that to be kind of peculiar. I would rather have him be on the practice squad and just take a swing at maybe him becoming the backup eventually. That just seems like a smarter move. We invested in him, so we might as well and continue to invest in him on the practice squad. Vervain, he says it's a completely different skill to punt than to kick. We definitely know that for sure. And he says that it's a lot harder to do both than it seems. Pat McAfee talks about this, and I trust him to definitely know what he's talking about. I'm not saying it would be easy. No way, shape, or form. I'm just surprised that we've never really seen it attempted. And I guess that's the reason. It's just super duper hard. Liberal Irishman, he says, in rugby, the guy that kicks off and punts kicks at goal too. There you go. Does all the jobs. They're just tougher in rugby. Rugby is a hellacious sport. No pads, no helmets, and they just murder each other on the football field. Let's see. How about the long snapper playing another position? This is also an interesting question. Thomas Hennessy, I believe, or James. Is it Thomas Hennessy?
It is Hennessy, and the long snapper is such a unique position too, man. Because there's guys they get such little credit, but you don't even want to know like what his name is, and that's
exactly.
I don't like. We had who was it? James Dirth. We had for like the longest time.
Yes.
And I'm like, you know what?
He was really good.
Yeah, he was. I guess he's retired now. That was a while ago. But I mean, like, it's such a unique position. I mean, and that's what makes it interesting. But no, like, Hennessy's good. Other than that, I don't want to hear anything about him. I don't want to know. If I hear anything about Hennessy, then something went the way I didn't want it to go.
Yeah, no word. Mum is the word on Henny. We don't want to hear nothing from Henny. Don't want to know his name. Don't want to know what school he went to. Just do your job, my man. He's pretty good, actually, all joking aside. Hennessy, you don't ever... I don't remember the last time we've had a bad snap, really. So,
No.
welcome to the show, John Post. I don't recognize you. It's good to see you. Welcome. Let's see... Liberal Irishman, he says, really didn't think it was a thing in the States. I'm a huge fan too. Franz says all the backs on a good rugby team need to be good at at kicking as well. Yeah, it seems like most sports, not all of them, but like it's typical, like they will specialize. And rugby, it seems like it's kind of the opposite. Like you have to be able to do a little bit of everything. Yeah, that's right, Frankie. You'd think that a center could develop long snapping skills, right? And this is another thing. Like I was talking about earlier, how it's fun to play GM and to narrow the roster down to 53. My brother and I, when we used to go to the Jets games when we were growing up, we would always practice different things that they do on the field. So, like, we used to practice throwing with our left arm, and I actually can throw with my left arm pretty good, and I'm usually a right-handed guy. And we used to practice doing long snapping, and I'm not good. I'm not saying I'm good, but, like, it's kind of funny, like when you learn the, like, mechanics or whatever of the fundamentals of doing it, it's pretty interesting to try to, like, snap it and to get the spin on the football. It's pretty cool.
I think that's what it comes down to. Those subtle mechanics. Well, yeah. The mechanics that look subtle to us they're just too critical and too deeply ingrained to be able to change them within the same game, let alone the same career.
I'm gonna throw this to the chat because there's a bunch of people watching right now. Does anybody remember the long snapper for the Giants named Trey Junkin, who played for them? Do you remember the play that he's known for? He's the only one that I really know by name.
No, I remember seeing like a documentary on him. Now I don't remember why.
Yeah, so it was the 2002, I think it was divisional round versus the 49ers. The Giants were lining up for a game-winning field goal in the divisional round, or maybe it was tying. I don't remember, but he snapped the ball and it was a bad snap and it cost them the game. Like the game ended on the Trey Junkin long snap. So,
have you ever seen the videos of them doing the trick long snaps?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, that's awesome. Like where they do like a half-court shot in basketball,
yes.
And it's like, how do they? I mean, that's a talent. Maybe
it's like they're like a freaking bat. They're hanging upside down and they can shoot it. Like it's crazy. I've seen those. They're really cool. Mike, welcome to the show. I don't believe that's our Mike for the channel, Mike. But it's good to see you, Mike. He says, let's keep Yeboah. He says, let's trade for Ertz, cut Griffin, and I'm thinking he means Herndon.
Would you do that?
Would I trade for Zach Ertz? I would. I was really bullish on not trading for him earlier in the offseason. I am of the mindset right now, let's just make sure that Zach has a great year this year. And I don't think it would cost too much because they do have Dallas Goedert in Philadelphia, who's pretty good.
I don't know how old he is.
Ertz, I think he's 30 or 31. Michelle says, and Michelle gets a special announcement. Sorry you can't hear that, chat, because I got my AirPods in. We just did the Leroy Jenkins shout out. She says, I was high on Ertz for a few years in fantasy, but he's kind of washed up, although he's a good option compared to what we have. That is the big ticket right there. He is washed. I agree to that completely, but he is better with what he's at right now, what he was last year. He's still better than what we currently have. We've got a new person in the chat, T-Dog911. It's good to see you in the show, dude. Thank you for joining us. He says your place kicker is generally under 6 feet, while punters are generally over 6 feet. That is very, very good and very poignant comment. They're usually tall because they need them long swinging legs. He says those body sizes are better fits for the for the position mechanics, especially in the NFL. Another top-notch comment. This is why we involve our viewers as much as we do, because we are fans just like you. Sometimes we don't get to every single nuance that you guys think of. So again, thanks for the great comment. Thank you for joining the show tonight. Hope you stick around, and hope you stop by more often. Let's see. Big mistake if they cut Berrios, so he's going to disagree with me.
Because he's going to go to the Patriots. He's going to have a Hall of Fame career.
Everybody keeps saying that, yeah. You're not alone in thinking that, so I have no problem with you disagreeing with me. It's all good in the hood, man. I'm good with you disagreeing. I think that we can get by with Vincent Smith, and I think that he does similar things on special teams. That's my logic, but I totally get what you're saying. I think it's pretty much a toss-up for me personally. Dele says, I'm keeping Josh Johnson. I think that's fair, and I think maybe if I were to redo my video where I did the 53-man roster game, I think I might have probably kept Josh Johnson. He has the experience in the system, might be better for Zach. And again, we can put James Morgan on the practice squad. So, all right, cool. Yeah, she was mad. She's defending Zach Ertz. Maybe she's going to leave me for Zach Ertz.
He's got that 2001 blonde hair going on right now.
No. Oh, does he?
Yeah, he's going through something. Have you seen it?
No.
Do you remember like in 1999 or 2000 when like every dude in high school was bleaching their hair for some reason? He did that. He did it, but he did it like 20 years after. Pull up a picture of him. Look at it.
I will have to. That's ridiculous. Let's see.
My brother did that. He looked like an idiot.
Look, we got all kinds of people from all over the world. This is another reason why I love this. So people from all over the world tune into the show. Talking about European finals and all kinds of stuff. Super cool. Dele, I don't disagree. Having the veteran is good. That's what I wanted earlier in the offseason. So yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that take at all. Okay, Ertz has a famous wife. I think I knew that. Kind of like Eric Decker for the Jets. He also had a pretty famous wife as well. I think she appeared on like a TV show or something. I don't know.
She was a country singer.
That one. Yeah, that's the one. Mm-hmm. Since teams have only one long snapper, who long snaps if he gets hurt? It's literally an emergency situation. Like, if the long snapper gets hurt, they definitely have somebody in mind. Like, they definitely have had the conversation with the player, like, hey, if this dude gets hurt, it's you, dude. Like, you're going to be the one. I would imagine that probably the center, but who the hell knows? It could be anything. It could be a tackle, a guard. Who knows? Probably a guard or a center, though. That would be my guess.
It's got to be.
You would think so. Let's see. Josh Scott says frosted tips. I'm gonna look those frosted tips up. It makes me think of like NSYNC or something, or Backstreet Boys. Is that the look? Is that what the look he's doing?
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's a bye. I don't know.
Josh Scott says Morgan and P. Ryan should both go on the practice squad. I would be fine with Morgan going there. I think that's the right decision. That's what I had the Jets doing in my video. P. Ryan, I think that he would get scooped up real quick. I could see the Rams being really interested in P. Ryan if they did that. So I really don't think that's going to happen. That was in the metrosexual era. Yes, sir, it was. If you weren't a sexy boy, you weren't anything.
I'm not your boy toy. That's a Shawn Michaels reference. No one's going to get that.
Green Bean, the Jets fan is here. Welcome, sir. It's good to see you. He says if they get hurt playing 4 to 5 snaps a game, they should be cut. That's fair. Those long. I think he's talking about the long snapper. That is a very good point. If you can't stay out there for just a couple of freaking plays, then you really do not belong in the NFL. They have to be so tough, though, because you know they're getting smashed as soon as they snap that ball.
Right, yeah. I mean, they're probably, I don't know. They're probably not getting killed, though, on every play. I mean, like, once you snap it, you snap it, and I don't know.
Yeah. They changed the rules to protect them, too. They used to be able to jump, like, on top of their heads, basically, and they're protecting the long snappers because they were getting all kinds of neck injuries and back injuries and stuff like that.
Do you remember that play at the very end of the game with Nick Mangold when he flipped that guy over? I think we were playing the Steelers, maybe.
Mm-hmm, I remember.
And I don't think it was Palomalu, but somebody. I mean, we were taking a knee. Somebody jumps over the line, and Mangold just flips him over, and he goes head first over his head. That was awesome.
We were just so. It's so funny you say that, Green Bean. We were just talking about James Dearth just a few minutes ago. They probably have very strong glutes, I would imagine. All that clenching they have to do in that position, my God. James Dearth was here for like 20, it felt like 20 years. It really did.
Yeah.
He was like the long snapper for like my entire life growing up as a Jets
I don't
fan.
remember the guy before him. Like, I literally don't.
Yeah, no, I can't either. I really can't. All right, let's see. Chat, I would like to challenge you. Any last minute topics that you have burning from the Jets-Eagles game? Happy to talk with you about them. I kind of want to hold off on talking about the Jets versus Panthers, but I'm really, really interested in having those conversations. Let's do a little side piece if you want. Unless there's something from the Jets-Eagles game, Chad.
No, I mean, the best thing about it was that Zach didn't play, and whether it was the rain or the coaches or whatever, I'm just grateful for that.
Yeah. So, what are you thinking right now? Early takeaway or not takeaways? Early thoughts that you're having when you start to look forward 2 weeks from now. Jets versus Panthers in Carolina. It's we've been talking about it all off season, and Sam Darnold versus the New York Jets. It's no longer out of bounds to bring his name up because he's the next opponent, dude. Like that shit is happening. It's going down now, and anybody who says that it's just another game, he's probably gonna say that when he's interviewed. It's just another game. It is not just another game for Sam Darnold. He totally wants to stick it. He wants to stick it to the Jets. And rightfully so. He has that, that's his prerogative. He has that opportunity in front of him. So what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, so the whole summer, I mean, ever since the schedule was announced, the whole idea was that, okay, we're going to get pressure in Darnold's face. We're gonna cause him to have to run out of the pocket and make one or two of those Darnold decisions that he makes like every single game that we say, why do you do that? Why do you throw off your back foot in triple coverage? Why are you throwing to the ghost on the post or whatever? The ghost on the post. But now it's like, now I don't know, because now I don't quite see us getting pressure unless we're getting pressure up the middle with Rankins and Williams. That being said, this holds true, and this has always been true for as long as I've been watching. Week 1 is a special week in the NFL. Crazy stuff can happen in week 1. It always does. You never see the team that you quite thought you saw in preseason or whatever. Anything could happen. If we can contain, I know we can't stop them, but if we can contain McCaffrey to something reasonable, even if it's like, I don't know, 80 yards, if we like for him, which is like something reasonable, then I think we have a chance. If not, then I think it's going to be a long day. Right now, it's kind of a toss up for me, and I don't want to be a homer. I mean, I'm probably giving the Panthers a slight edge. It wouldn't be stunning, to be totally honest. But I think we certainly do have a chance. I'd probably give it like a 60-40 chance with us taking the 40% at this point.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's on the road, And we as a fan base have been talking about how week 2 in MetLife, it's going to be explosive in there. It's going to be ravenous. The fans want to get together and go ape shit. Like, that's what everybody's got on their minds for that week 2 game. And I would imagine, Carolina's fans, they might not be as intense, but I think that, like, it's going to be a packed house and it's going to be pretty loud, I think.
I can't. Yeah.
No, go ahead. You're good.
No, I can't wait for week 2.
Yes.
We're going to be up there. I don't know what our plan is. I don't know if we're doing a stream or whatever right after the show, but we're going to be – I know that you and I are going to not have voices. I'm going to be screaming. I'm going to be screaming so loud. I'm telling you, the loudest game that I was ever at was week 2, 2010. And I wanted to replicate that. I think you're going to see it, man. I really do. No matter what happens with week 1, like even if we take an L, I think we're going to put it behind us. And just early in the season, like all the hope over with Salah, JD, and Zach. I think the fans haven't been in 2 years out to a game, dude. They're going to go batty. They're going to go nuts. I want to hear. I don't know if Fireman Ed's going to show up. I don't know what they're going to do, but I want to hear that chant. When you could hear the chant through the TV, like you can always kind of hear it, but then sometimes it's like booming loud.
Yes.
And then you're like, a lot of teams have chants, but like what makes our chant special is like how in sync everybody is. I want to hear that giant AC unit. I want to hear that giant AC unit that we call a stadium up there shaking. Yeah. I want them to have to call the AC repair guy, the HVAC repair guy, because I want that stadium shaking. It's going to be filled with actual Jet fans, which should be awesome, which you don't see in a typical Jet fan because normally like 50% other fans. But I want everybody screaming their heads off for 4 quarters. Dude, I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty intense. So I will touch real quick and then I'm going to get to the chat because you guys have loaded it up. Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. This has been a lot of fun. There will not be a Sunday show this coming Sunday. There's no game. We will be back and we will be doing it week 1 at night. It'll be the same time, 8 p.m. Sunday, September 12th. So the big thing on my mind right now, it's not really Darnold. It's more about the matchup with our young linebackers. Not having to stop the run. I mean, that's definitely part of it because McCaffrey's a beast. I'm thinking more so about the aerial threat that he is running routes. This is a running back that is able to play wide receiver. You cannot say, like, if he lines up as a wide receiver that you have now somehow diminished his ability. He can kill you in the receiving game. He had a game, I think it was versus the Lions or something like that, maybe the Colts. He had like 13 or 14 receptions in the damn game as a running back. And so if we are not able to contain that, if Darnold's just, making really easy reads, getting the ball out quick to McCaffrey, I think you get where I'm going with this. Like, they'll be able to diminish the pass rush because they can't stop him in the passing game with McCaffrey. That's a problem. That's something that's something that I think could be the determining factor for a long time. All offseason, I was saying offensive line versus defensive line, their offensive line versus our defensive line. I said the line of scrimmage was going to win that game, and I think now it's the matchup between our linebackers and safeties covering McCaffrey. Excuse me. All right, let's get to the chat here. He says that game would prove how much Gase sucked. If Darnold had a great game, then yes. If Darnold really doesn't do all that much and turns it over a couple of times, then we might be saying, man, maybe Gase was hamstrung a little bit. You got to keep pressure on Darnold, and you got to keep him in the pocket. Great point. Maintaining QB containing him, making sure that he's not rolling out all over the place. Make him sit in the pocket. Make him make reads. That's where we could possibly screw with him a little bit too, because if we're containing him on the edges and penetrating and creating pass rush up the middle, it could be a problem. And that is one of the things. Like, if our defensive line can dominate still, even without Carl Lawson, that could be major. Linebackers make very good long snappers. A lot of those guys snapped going all the way back to high school. Again, a good body for the mechanics. I coached kickers and long snappers for 20 years. Holy moly, that's awesome, T-Dog. Very cool to learn. I have never coached, so it's good to hear from a coach's perspective. That's why James is on the Wednesday podcast, because he knows football better than I. Josh Scott, he says, I think we barely beat the Panthers. Then we beat the Pats at home, and then we go to Denver to be the latest victim of the Mile High. Teddy B gets his revenge. So he has us going 2-1 in the first 3 games of the season. I'll sign on that dotted line right now. I would sign on that dotted line. 2-1 would be fan-freaking-tastic. Sam's version of Elf on the Shelf, Ghost on a Post. You got it. You got it, Michelle. Let's see. Sam Darnold has not really improved much in Carolina. He flipped another pass that almost got intercepted. I did hear that he had a bad pass. The one play or 2 plays that I've seen, he's still kind of locking on to a receiver. So that could be problematic as well. Michelle says, I'd be nervous about week 1 anyway, but I'm really nervous about Sam. Spite and revenge are powerful motivators. Yes, that is definitely a factor. Franz is going to predict that he will have 150 all-purpose yards, and again, that's rushing and receiving. I figure anywhere from like 80 to 100 rushing yards and anywhere from like 20 to 50 receiving yards. Like, that's definitely what he's capable of, and more in the receiving game. So we shall see. Green Bean says Sam is going to be motivated, but he's also going to be Sam.
Right.
Go ahead.
And that's the thing. Like, the one argument about Sam was that he was always trying to do too much to overcompensate for the shortcomings for the rest of the team. And I mean, if he does feel that strongly and he turns into the Sam that we all know, then he's going to try to do too much. And if he does too much, he's going to end up making mistakes. So that could end up being a good thing for us. But I mean, Sam's always been, at least on the outside, pretty calm, cool, and collected.
Mm-hmm. And Green Bean, we are going to that same tailgate. And that's something that I was trying to tell you earlier, Chad. I'm going to do the Gotham City tailgate. I was kind of on the fence about what to do. I don't want to lug a bunch of shit in the car to have to. I want to be wined and dined. I told that to the man that runs Gotham City Crew. I want to have all the drinks for free, or not for free, but I want all the drinks that I can want, all of the food that I can eat. So we're gonna go there. Maybe I'll see you guys there, and if not, no worries. Hope you guys have an amazing time. Say again?
Yeah, no, I don't really. If I had more people going with me, I would, because I mean, obviously the tailgating is like half the experience, sometimes more than half the experience if we're really terrible. But no, I'm in the same boat. Like, I don't feel like breaking out the tables and the grills and the food and the ice and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I did one of their tailgates back in like 2017, I think, on a Thursday night game. Actually, the dancing game against the Bills, and we had a real good time.
Yeah.
So if it's anything like that, then yeah, I might do that too. I mean, if you're gonna do it, I might do it.
Yeah, I just want to have a nice time. I don't want to have to like screw around with all that. I mean, sometimes that's fun to have to like bring the stuff and like cook it yourself and prepare it. But I just want to have a really nice day. I want to pull out a lawn chair, get a beer, have a brat or something, and just chill the F out and talk with people. Like, that's what that's all about. That's why people are willing to.
Yeah, like if you don't have to work the next day, one of the good things is leave after the game, bring your stuff back out, and then just chill in the parking lot until everybody's gone. Because like I don't want to sit in traffic for 3 hours or whatever. Like if I don't have to work the next day, like I'm just gonna go in the parking lot, crack another beer, drown my sorrows, and just chill for a while.
We got another Jets content creator. The Jets report is here. It's good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping by. He agrees. He says MetLife will be rocking week 2 if we beat the Panthers. Yes. And again, like you said, Chad, even if we potentially lose that game, I still think it will be very, very loud week 2. Let me get to back chat here. So Harry W, he says Sam overthinks what he sees. And I think that's fair to say. He definitely overthinks it, and I think that he is, or was at least, sometimes trigger happy. Trigger shy. Like he wouldn't pull the trigger when it was obvious that it was there. We saw examples of that numerous times, not seeing the field and not trusting what he's seeing. So I get what you're saying, Harry. Here we go. This is a good one. Zach Wilson's stat predictions for week 1. I'm cool with that. You want to go first?
Well, assuming that it does turn into a shootout, and because the defense kind of ends up being what we think they're going to be, oh God, I don't know. I could see something like 26 of 33, 214 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick.
Okay, so that's a little modest, my man. A lot of completions. I'm going to say 20 of 30, and I'm going to say 275. I'm going to give him 275 passing yards. That's a little modest. He could potentially throw for 300 in that game. But I'll say 275. I'll give him 2 touchdowns, give him 20 rushing yards, and maybe 1 interception. So, and that's good enough. If he can do that, we probably have a good shot to win that game. Thomas Hewitt, the man himself, calling him Zach Marino. Zach Wilson, 21 of 29, 355 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jets 31-23.
Where do I sign?
Yeah, dude. We'll all be losing it. Alex says if you underestimate Sam Darnold, it's going to cost you. I can underestimate him all day long, and it has no impact on the game. But the Jets defense, you're right. They better not underestimate him. That's how you lose games. That's how upsets happen. If you don't take your opponent seriously, you can be in big trouble. Where is Mike? Mike is not a part of the Sunday show. Mike is exclusive Wednesday show material. This is Chad and I's baby, the Sunday show. We created this together, so Mike is not a part of it. He'll be on Wednesday, though. He was out last Wednesday. He shall be back. Let's see. There was another comment. I like when James comes on. He's so knowledgeable about the game and an add to the value of your channel. Dude, that's why I love having him on, man. I'm not going to even sugarcoat it. James is definitely an asset to the channel. When we started to have him come on, my mindset was I don't want to pretend like I know everything. That's not, like, good leaders in any business will go out to get help for things that they are not, perfectly knowledgeable for. You can't assume that you know everything. So anyway, long story short, that's why James is a part of the Wednesday show. I wanted him on the show. I told him I wanted him on the show. I said, yo, you're good. You work, you're a contributor for Jets X Factor. You know your stuff. Come and do some stuff with us. And he's more than happy to do it. From what I gather, that's like kind of like a hobby of his. So he enjoys doing the podcast with us for sure. And don't forget, during the season on the Wednesday show, he's going to be on every week starting in week 3. He's getting married in week 1. And so he will be doing live film breakdown of the games that we just watched on Sunday. So I'm very, very excited to do that with him. He's going to be, as you guys know, he's going to be awesome. If the Jets defense struggles, Zach will have to put his Merino cape on. Yes. We'll see, man. It's going to be so exciting. I cannot wait. You don't consider who is coach? He didn't let Sam play. I do consider who Sam played with. The Coach Gase was terrible. And the surrounding cast around Sam, not good either. But there's equal blame. You can definitely give Gase a shit ton of credit for the terrible season we had. He absolutely deserves blame, and potentially more than Darnold. I think that's fair. But it's a shared record. 2-14 doesn't just happen because you have a really, really awful head coach. Everybody's a part of that. We almost went 0-16, guys. We barely beat the Rams, which was a huge shock. And then we beat the Browns when they had like nobody at wide receiver. They had a bunch of COVID people out for that game. So we were fortunate to win those two games. We were a really, really bad football team. And Sam Darnold, say whatever you want about Gase. He definitely deserves it. But Sam had a hand in that season. There's no debating it. What do you think about that, Chad?
No, I mean, it's rare that, almost all of the fan base. I mean, I'm sure there was a few people, but like almost all of the fan base was in favor of moving on from Sam. Especially when we had the high pick, it just makes too much sense. And I mean, unfortunately, we all had high hopes for him coming out after the 2018 season, but then we just didn't see that progression that we needed to see. He was still making those rookie mistakes last season. I like Sam. We've had this conversation before. I like Sam a lot. I like him as I like his character. I like his leadership, but unfortunately, I agree with moving on from him.
Mm-hmm. It was the first game last season versus the Bills. We played them in the home opener, in the season opener, and I knew it was going to be a bad year when it was a situation where Sam Darnold had broken the pocket to the right. He was running towards the sideline, and 100%, very, very easily could he have thrown the ball out of bounds, incomplete pass, we move on to the next play. Instead, he runs out of bounds for like a 2 or 3 yard loss, and I know it's only 2 or 3 yards, but Jesus, dude, throw the freaking ball away. Like, that drove me up the wall. And I was shocked to see a third-year quarterback making such a simple, boneheaded error. You can't do that when you have the out of throwing it away. Like, you just have to do that. You have to know to do that. And that's where Sam really struggled. It was always the mental aspect of knowing what to do in the circumstance that he was currently in. Green Bean says, we're not underestimating Sam. We just divorced him. You're like the new boyfriend. Have at it. Yeah. We got the new varsity quarterback. We're hot for him. We're not hot for the kid that used to be the varsity quarterback. Screw that guy. Daniel says if he's on Jets X Factor, then that means he kind of competes with Joe Blewett and Robbie Sabo when it comes to game film and analysis. I think that he really enjoys the film analysis, like the grind of it or whatever. Kind of like that's what you hear a lot of coaches say, like they enjoy that part of the game and the preparation. And I think that's kind of how James looks at it. I would be shocked if he said he was competitive with those guys, but maybe, man, you might be right. I have no idea. Here's the problem. We do need to wrap the show up in about 3 minutes, guys. So we are going to be ending the show right at 10 o'clock. That's going to be the same thing during the season. So you got to get all your questions and your takes in during those 2 hours. He says, Franz, here's the problem. Cornerbacks can't match up with the speed of DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, which means we have to play 2 deep safeties, which allows CMC to gash us on runs and dump offs. I like that, and he is definitely not wrong. We probably will be in a lot of 2 deep safety looks, but you could probably play a little bit of cover 2. I think that makes it a little easier. We can play a little cover 4 as well. I think zone defense is great for when you have a little bit of a concern with this type of situation. Playing a man defense and always having two safeties back might not be a great idea. I think they would figure that one out pretty quickly. But I do like where your head's at, and I think that that look will definitely be presented to the Carolina Panthers. Thomas Hewitt, let's go Jets. Whoops, wrong button. Let's try that again. There we go. Let's go Jets. Gitmo, and we'll probably end it with this comment right here. Gitmo says, can't wait for the Tuesday cuts. It could be almost as interesting as the draft with the opportunity to fill holes. And we will be live on Wednesday for the final roster being revealed. We will be able to break all that down. And on the Wednesday show, we're also going to talk a little bit about depth chart, where we think people should be, in the pecking order. And I also think we'll talk a little bit more, kind of like tonight, a little teaser of Carolina versus the New York Jets. Chad, you got any last words you want to throw out there before we roll out of here?
No, I'm not scheduled to see you guys again for 2 weeks. So hopefully when we get together again on a Sunday night, it's all good. If not, we'll talk through it. We'll get through it, and we'll be moving on to in-game experience for the first time in a long time. I can't wait.
Yes, man. It's been the entire time I've been doing this that we'll finally have a regular season game to talk about. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Holy moly. Please, before we go, jet up that like button again. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Have a great night. Go Jets. And a word from my daughter. Peace out, guys. Have a good night.